Trump v. Biden on immigration. Today, I'm going to discuss what has happened with both President Trump and Vice President Biden in the past. What have they accomplished or done over their careers on immigration? I'm going to share what they both say their plans are if they are elected for immigration going forward. 2020, 2021, 22, 23, so on. Look, I know I probably won't change the mind of anybody who's already set to decide to vote for either President Trump or for Vice President Biden. But as always, knowledge is power. I want you to make the most informed decision that you can. And if you can vote, and you have a family or loved ones who are immigrants, you should be aware how your vote might impact them. If you don't know, my name is Mejer. I'm an immigration attorney here in the US, but more importantly, I'm an immigrant like most of you, my clients. I've gone through what most of my clients have experienced before I became a US citizen. I came to the US as a child and didn't speak English. I moved to Israel as an adult and didn't speak Hebrew. I came back to the US alone and without family and only $300 in my pocket. When I was younger and we first came to the US, my family lived without legal status for many years, almost a decade in fact. I almost lost my green card and I had to make my way through the confusing and frustrating system of US immigration without an attorney. My parents did hire an immigration attorney in the 80s who took $5,000 of their hard-earned money in the 80s and did absolutely nothing. My goal is that for you, my audience and my clients, that never happens to you. If you are eligible for legal status, we will do everything we can to help you get that. And if we can't help you, we're not going to take your money. Okay, so let's move to tonight's topic. Trump v. Biden in U.S. immigration. Now let's look at Vice President Biden's past immigration policies. Prior to being vice president, Joe Biden was a senator for many years from 1973 to 2009, yes, before I was even born. In 1983, Biden voted against an amendment that would have allowed states to deny education and other benefits to illegal immigrants. A couple of years later, he voted for Ronald Reagan's amnesty bill, which gave millions, including my family, the right to live in the U.S. and get legal residency, even though we had lived here without legal status. Vice President voted to allow Chinese students to stay in the U.S. and gain citizenship. He also voted to suspend the deportations of Salvadorans and Nicaraguans. He then voted for Ted Kennedy's Immigration Act of 1990. And he voted for an amendment to halt deportations of family members of those who benefited under the Reagan Amnesty Act. He voted against giving preferences to English-speaking immigrants. And he voted to allow the census to continue to count undocumented immigrants for House of Representatives seats for Congress. In 1994, VAWA, Violence Against Women's Act, was designed by Joe Biden and is one of his lasting legacies in his senatorial career. We've made a video on VAWA as well. It's one of the ways that we help immigrants achieve legal status in the US. Biden continuously voted against another senator's, Alan Simpson, attempts to limit US immigration. When Bush was in office, Biden continued to vote for immigrants and against limiting immigrants. Many argue that while Biden was pro-immigrant, his tough-on-crime voting led to a crackdown on immigration decades later. In the mid-90s, Biden voted for an employment verification system, as well as keeping immigrants, even documented ones, from getting Medicaid. Biden did vote for bills in the 90s that since becoming law have led to increased incarceration and deportation of immigrants. As vice president, Biden ran the Alliance for Prosperity, which gave financial incentives to South American countries who reduced immigration to the U.S. This program, plus Clinton's Plan Colombia, were both masterminded by Biden and said by many to have brought more money to the corrupt and wealthy in countries while increasing violence and poverty for the citizens in those countries that it should have protected. That's their past. That's their history. Where do they stand now? Biden immigration platform is to welcome immigrants, to reassert America's commitments to asylum and refugee seekers, to implement effective border screening. That doesn't mean a wall, it means control of the border. Have a fair and humane immigration system. Biden has said he will reverse the public charge rule. Biden has said he will protect dreamers and their families. He will rescind the ban on immigrants from certain Muslim countries. Not just Muslim countries anymore. Trump did add other countries like Nigeria, for example. Biden will order a review of the ending of TPS and more. Pretty much, he will try to undo whatever Trump has done while making a better immigration system and keeping Americans safe. Now, what does this all mean for you, the immigrant? I've always stated that our law firm is 100% behind legal immigration. We think that every person should have the right to immigrate to the US and be with their family or come to work here as long as they meet certain criteria to do so. What about if Biden is elected? So Biden has been much more pro-immigrant throughout his career. Yes, he has voted for programs that have increased criminal sanctions against immigrants, and it has resulted in increased deportations. Do any of us want immigrants in the US who are criminals? I think everyone agrees we don't. The real question becomes, who is a criminal under federal law? And I'd much rather Biden's definition than Trump's, because under Trump, everyone's a criminal. If he doesn't have a Democratic Senate, he may accomplish very little in changing the law. But then again, Trump hasn't accomplished much either in changing the law. All he's done is sign executive orders, which is what Biden would have to do, is use executive orders to undo Trump's executive orders. If the House and Senate become led by Democrats, then Biden will have an opportunity to put in place true immigration reform. It would be fantastic if there were finally a resolution for the Dreamers so that they and their families are able to obtain legal status and stay in the US for the only home that most have known. Will USCIS get faster? Probably not. Will Customs or ICE be nicer? Probably not. Will immigrants feel safer? We can only hope that they can and will. Voting takes place on Tuesday, November 3rd. Early voting is open in many states, including being able to get a mail-in ballot. I myself have already voted. I already mailed in my ballot. If you are a citizen, you have the right to vote. If you're not a US citizen, please don't vote. It's going to be lots of bad consequences to you. We encourage everyone that can vote, let your voice be heard, go out and vote. Thanks for your time. If you enjoyed this video, please let us know by subscribing to and following our social media channels. If you need assistance with immigration issues, we are here to help. We won't take your money if we can't help you. So reach out to us today and we'll see if we can get you started on your immigration journey. Until next time, stay healthy and be well.